Welcome, everybody, to the Table Rush Talk Show. Today, I'm super excited to have on the show Joseph Wilkens. And Joseph Wilkens, I guess, are you the proprietor of funnysalesvideos.com? Is proprietor an accurate word for that?
Owner, president, toilet cleaner, janitor, whatever you want to say.
Love it. And I'm super excited to have you on, man. First off, kudos to your podcast interview setter, right? And she did a great job of setting this up. Anybody watching, like, hire yourself a podcast setter, create a nice little bio, obviously do something that kicks butt like you do, Joseph. But she was great, man. She followed up,
Great.
reached out once. I ignored it. She reached out again, and I was like, okay. So
persistence pays off.
Persistence pays off. Sales, right? I have a long history of sales. So lots of telemarketing. And it's that 5 times, make them say no 5 times, man. So I'm guessing she follows the same rule. And I was looking forward to 3 more invites anyway. So yeah, man, you're super successful at creating sales videos for companies, and I don't know if funny sales videos, right? Let's say 2 to 5 minutes. You've worked with LinkedIn, McDonald's, Goldman Sachs, Chevrolet, Home Depot. You're creating viral style videos. I will be perfectly honest with you too. I saw your shiny picture, your bio picture, and it said you've been doing this for 20 years. And I thought, no way he looks this young, yet here you are looking this young. So,
yeah, there's probably a good filter on it, making me look young.
Right.
So.
You've got it dialed in. So I guess, man, you're successful at making these little videos or vignettes, or what would you call them? I don't want to insult what you do by calling them the wrong thing.
No, I mean, they're funny sales videos, right? The name kind of says what it is. But the goal, I guess the reason for it, and let me just backtrack just a second. So we haven't been doing this for 20 years. Okay. We started out 20 years ago doing what I would say everyone else is doing, which is your traditional corporate sales videos, TV commercials, infomercials. That was our background. So for 15 years, we actually started out in television. We did full-length 30-minute infomercials, shorter TV spots, and then we did videos that people would put online. The problem is that, I don't know about you, I don't even have a television subscription the way that we used to, right? And there's a lot of people watching that probably never had one in their lives. Millennials are, cord cutting or not having a cord at all. And so people were not seeing the commercials that we were producing. And when we would put them online, they just wouldn't work the same way. Mm-hmm. And so after 15 years of doing every kind of sales video you can think of to sell different clients' products, we came to the realization that people just weren't watching them the way that they used to, because we used to force them to watch it, right? You're not watching the next episode of your show unless you watch us, or we would catch you in the middle of the night on a weekday when you can't sleep with an infomercial. Well, people just don't channel surf the way that they used to.
Yeah.
So about 5 years ago is when we finally made the decision.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry to interrupt really quick. That must have been fiscally painful or financially painful. I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me about that. Was the business collapsing on itself? And
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell me about that pain. What was going on?
Yeah. So I mean, we all remember the crash of 2008. That was when it really started. And it, kind of coincided with the time that TiVo and DVRs were coming out so that you could skip those commercials.
Yes.
And I had a media buying partner. His only job was to buy remnant television airspace, and the prices on airtime were not coming down. They were staying flat. In fact, in some cases, they were going up because TV companies weren't making as much money. They had the same overhead, so they had to put their prices up in some cases.
Okay.
And our clients' results, their sales, their return on ad spend was going down. And so we started losing customers. And so I literally had to look at the business. We didn't lay anyone off, but we didn't hire when people left. And I definitely had some sleepless nights trying to figure out, how do I make payroll? How do I, keep our operation in business? And so, yeah, it was a painful time for sure.
So did you're married at the time? You've got kids, you've got a
Yep.
new family at the time?
All of the above. Four kids now, 3 at the time.
Yeah. So you're feeling I mean, I've been in necessity is the mother of invention, right? I've been a young father with a new child and a business collapsing around me. And it's like, oh no, right? So I mean, when you say it was painful or however you said it, I'm imagining that ulcers perhaps were on the way, or there's family tension, or go ahead.
I will say this. I've always, from day one, like literally 20 years ago, quitting my corporate job, a well-paying, as a marketing director for an international company, I was comfortable, but I made the decision that I wasn't going to go into debt. Now, how do you do that? How do you jump ship, start a video production studio, literally buy a studio space, build it out, get all the equipment? I just decided I was going to be extremely scrappy. I was going to make do with what I could. I mean, we literally, I don't know how much detail you want to get into, but if I was a new entrepreneur looking to start out, I think these lessons are valuable.
Tell me.
There's definitely a time and a place and a type of business that absolutely has to take on capital. A lot of the biggest companies in the world wouldn't exist today without it.
Yep.
But personally, I wouldn't have survived those hard days if I had a banker that was calling for, a mortgage every month, or investors that were carving out percentages of our profit. And I just made a very conscious decision that instead of getting investors, I would align myself with strategic partners who would help bring on some of the, I partnered up, like I said, with a media buyer. Between us, we split all of the bills 50-50. We purchased a studio space that was the scrappiest space in the ghettos of the part of Salt Lake City that I live in. Yes. I mean, we literally got robbed a couple of times. Wow. We had good insurance, so we made it through. But when it all came crashing down, if I was positioned, if I was leveraged differently, I wouldn't be here 12 years later. No question about it. So running lean definitely saved us.
I love that. Did you at the time cash in IRA? So you're successful in your corporate job?
No. It wasn't that bad. It didn't ever get to the point. And again, going into details, but I hired a lot of commission-only salespeople. And so, their job, that they were basically freelancers that brought us contracts. Yes. And they felt it just as much as we did when it started to go down. So I'm saying all of that to say this: we had to very quickly reinvent ourselves.
Love it. Thank you.
And so what we did is we said, okay, people don't like commercials, flat out. They're not going to watch them online. What are they doing? If they're not on TV, where are they going? And the answer is obvious. It's online. It was social media. It was, YouTube, Facebook. Now it's Instagram, TikTok. We can talk about all the different platforms. But the fundamental concept was, if they're shifting over to an online experience where they're not expecting to have to watch ads, we had to create content that felt like the reason they were going there in the first place. And they weren't going there to watch ads. They were going there to waste some time. They were going there to be entertained. They were going there to have a coffee break and just lighten the mood for a few minutes before they got back to whatever they were doing. And so our thesis was simple. If we can create content that looks like sketch comedy, that doesn't feel like an ad until we had them hooked. And what I mean by that is we tell them a fun story that whether or not they buy, they feel like, oh, that was fun to watch. And then they start to like us. Now, if we can at the same time tell a relevant story that tells the story of somebody that feels like them or feels like they have a similar problem that our client's product solves, then it only stands to reason that you're connecting with them on an emotional level. We use humor. Some other people say that they like to, use fear or use, emotions to tug at the heartstrings, to get them to cry.
Yeah.
I mean, those are, in my opinion, just as valid, harder to do. Humor to me is the best way to consistently create content that connects emotionally. But I can talk in a minute about, how does that help your listeners or your viewers do the same? And what we had to do, we spent about a year creating the right team of writers, because good comedy, it's a fine line between good comedy and bad comedy. And I'm not talking about, off-colored comedy. I'm talking about bad comedy that just feels silly, right? It's got to be intelligent humor that connects with the audience that's listening, sucks them in. And then while we have them, we'll try to pitch them and get them to buy our product if it's relevant. We don't want people just buying for the sake of buying. We target the right people that we know have the same problems that our products or solutions solve. And then we basically just make a friend with them. And the goal is to make an immediate sale. And a lot of people say, in fact, you alluded to it earlier, a lot of people say you got to hit somebody with 7 different impressions of your product or service before they'll actually take it in. And, we can debate the numbers, but these kinds of videos are like a multi-impression experience. If I can get you to watch a 3-minute sketch comedy piece that also has my sales messaging in, it's going to be so much more effective than throwing 7 meat pitch videos at you that just say, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. I don't care about giving you anything in return. So that was a long way of saying we saw sales from our clients go from, almost just break even, sometimes losing money, running ads on television and even running ads on YouTube using commercials that just feel like commercials, to where, our first ever campaign, when we launched Funny Sales Videos and started to do this humor right, we immediately, with a very, very small client with a pretty small budget, we got over $500,000 in immediate sales from a campaign that maybe cost, low tens of thousands. So astronomical results. We had over 7 million views on that campaign. We'd never got anything. In fact, our biggest campaign before that with non-funny videos, I think we got a video into the 100,000 views. But fast forward to today, our biggest campaign is for a laundry detergent. So not a particularly sexy or funny topic, but we have over 100 million views on that campaign and millions and millions and millions of dollars in sales. So these are genuinely transformational campaigns that can take any product, any service. I don't care whether you're targeting CXOs with a B2B product or teenagers with a skin cream product. Humor can sell.
I love that. I anybody watching and or listening right now, go to funnysalesvideos.com. You've got 2 examples of the laundry detergent, which I loved. It looks like you oftentimes, you use the same actors, shall we say?
Yeah, it's a campaign. So you had the same character, just in different situations. Just like, the progressive lady, you see her in all different kinds of ads, or Geico the gecko, same thing.
Yeah. And then I was looking at the, I don't want to get off track, but I just want to make sure people go to funnysalesvideo.com, check out what you do, because you can see these awesome videos and you can see the sketch comedy, but you can see the underlying production value is what I would say. So like it's clear that there's thought into it, that it's well scripted. It's like they're very well done
Thank you.
from that regard. Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got a great, I want to make sure to say this at least a few times, that you've got a great ebook available right now, which you can get to from funnysalesvideos.com. And it's how to produce a funny sales video without hiring us. 8 simple to follow steps. And I did dive into that a little bit, and it's awesome. A ton of value there. So anybody listening, watching, definitely go to funnysalesvideos.com. You'll get amazing ideas. It'll get your brain thinking, right? Like already I was like, yeah. And my brain started going, all right, what's the formula here? What's the formula here? Right.
Yeah.
And you basically give it to everybody with that free ebook. So people should just, if you're in the video game, you should go to funnysalesvideos.com, check out what Joseph Wilkens is doing, who I have the pleasure of having on here right now, obviously, and get that free ebook. Ton of value.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll just add one thing. It's not just if you're selling in a traditional sense of, I have, a product and I want to sell more of them. You can use these principles. We have used these principles to generate leads, to raise funds. We've done a video for a company that was doing not a Kickstarter, but a crowdfunding. They needed to raise capital. They were a small startup. They needed to get their idea out there and then show big time investors. I can't remember how many millions of dollars we raised for one company in just 2 weeks using one of these videos. So it doesn't matter what your end goal is. Humor, and people say to me all the time, I don't know that my customer or my business is a funny business. And I say, hallelujah, because we wouldn't have a job if it was. The point is, it doesn't matter. In fact, the more boring the company, the more opportunity there is, because your competitors aren't going to be doing this. The very nature of marketing is disrupt, do something that's different, stand out, don't get ignored. And as long as your potential customer is a human, they have emotions, they like to smile, they like a good story, and they have a need. And so there is no customer out there, or no business, no matter how boring, how corporate, that can't use humor.
It's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for that. One of the videos too is for like a pee bottle for old people.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a great one. That's a great example. So
urine bottle, not pee as in the vegetable.
Yes, urine bottle. There's some great. I want to make sure there's some great little lines and hooks in there, and I definitely want to hear more about hiring the writers, because that's clearly the stuff's well written and that's key. But I'm maybe it's due to my own age, but you retired from a successful corporate job 20 years ago. You've been doing this now for 20 years. You've had a couple peaks and valleys, and you've refined your process. But how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? Like, I'm looking at you going, the timeline doesn't make sense to me.
I'm 48.
48.
Yeah.
So, wow. Do you live some sort of a healthy lifestyle, would you say? Or
I do. I exercise for 30 minutes every day. I don't drink. I don't smoke. That's a religious thing. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Some people know us as Mormons, but I think that helps in a way. But I probably need to give the most credit just to my genes. My whole family look younger than they are. So
yeah, well, I love I think I don't drink, smoke, do any of that stuff. When I was in my 40s, I got told I looked a lot younger than I was all the time. Now that I'm in my 50s with the big mop of hair, I don't hear it so much anymore. But I think speaking to a healthy lifestyle, a clean lifestyle, is always good. I think being off potentially addictive substances, not to go down a rabbit hole, is indeed the fountain of youth. So
yeah, I agree. I also think it helps your mental clarity. I mean, there's studies that have been done that will show, health isn't just physical, it's spiritual, it's mental. And I think when you're tasked, as I am on a daily basis, with coming up with ideas. I mean, we could talk forever on how does an idea get formed? Where does it come from? How can you tune into the mindset that makes you open to receive ideas? I mean, that's probably the most important thing that we do as a business is come up with ideas. And I certainly don't take credit for at least, a quarter of the ideas that we come up with. That's my team. But, how do you as a business owner start coming up with good ideas? And I'm not just talking about for videos. I'm talking about for your business plan. I'm talking about how do I, come up with ideas for my website? And a lot of the time, it's the opposite of what we're doing right now. Sitting at a computer is the worst place, in my opinion, to come up with ideas. I mean, if I spun this camera around, you'd see the beautiful mountains of Utah. I love nothing more than to get away, get out there and just be in nature and let my mind relax. And that's where I really find the ideas come. And also, it's not always possible, but get away from deadlines. My clients hate the fact that when the phone rings and they ask me, how much is it going to be to produce a campaign and how long does it take? The idea that they like the least is how long does it take? It takes 4 months to produce a video, and we won't work with you if you're not ready to wait. It takes us 2 months to produce the script. Takes us about a month to find the right actors, the right locations, the right sets, the right props. The actual filming is the quickest part. Normally it takes us a day or two to film one of these, and then it takes us a month to post-produce. So all the editing, the color correction, graphics, and everything like that. So you said earlier, it looks like that this has been well done. Well, that's because we took the time to do it right. And a lot of that 2 months of scripting is what I call empty time. So we'll write the script and we have at least 7 writers on every script. And so we're batting ideas back and forth between me as the creative director that's supervising the whole process, but then my team of marketing writers, story writers, and comedy writers. I have 3 different groups of people, but you have to let it breathe. You can't say, okay, we're going to give it to you on Monday, you on Tuesday, you on Wednesday, and by Sunday, it's ready to give to the client. No, we want to give at least a couple of weeks to let ideas marinate. I mean, the best ideas sometimes come in the water closet. And you have to have so many bowel movements before you get enough time for ideas to marinate. And so literally, you've got to take away the pressure for the better ideas to make themselves manifest.
Oh my God, I love this. I've got a theory. This is the way I'm working these days, right? I was definitely deadline driven. I was 100% commission sales for a good 20 years of my life and successful at it. And
good for you.
Yep. I mean,
aren't we all business owners, entrepreneurs with commission only?
That's right. That's right. It used to drive my mother crazy, I think, until the day she died. She's like, when are you going to get a salary job? And I'm like, it's not going to happen for me. But I was extremely disciplined in my approach and set up systems and definitely tried to come from a service aspect, right? I was constantly, my process as a salesperson, and even today is like, hey, God or universe, or call it what you will, how can I be of service, right? Who do you want me to serve?
Love it.
How do you want me to serve them? I'm not sure why I'm talking about this in particular, but just I think it talks to a little bit of what you're talking about. You're trying to give space for the ideas to percolate, for the inspiration to come from. And you said it, like, where is that inspiration coming from? Is it coming from me, or is it coming from something bigger, broader? And I love that idea and I love that concept. But anyway, I had a shift, where I was like goal driven, numbers driven, calls driven, appointments driven, and I was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack and die if I keep living like this. So perhaps I'll go to a more non-goal oriented business structure, right? Which is a little bit what you're talking about. You're like, hey, this is going to take at least 4 months. Got to let the ideas marinate. We got to let stuff develop. nurture, that give time for that inspiration for the universe to come in. And so I'm definitely trying to live my own life on the business side of things from that same thing. It's like, hey, I'll like, you can see on my board behind me, my process these days is I'm writing down all the ideas that come to me and then following the breadcrumbs of the ones that stick and trying to let go of timelines and expectations. Thank you for listening to that. Quick, are you active in your church? Super active?
I am. Yeah, it's my family and my faith are the two most important things in my life.
I love that. You're British or?
I am. Yes, I kind of sound half baked because I've been here for 20. So I moved to the United States when I was 21. So I've lived here longer than I lived in my home country, which is a weird feeling. I'm actually going home in a couple of weeks. I'll give a little plug. It's for a video marketing conference. It's going to be held at Oxford University. Sounds pretty impressive, right?
Yes.
But that's the.
Is it in the basement?
No, it's actually in this really grand speakers room that all the prime ministers and JFK and a lot of the world's greatest people have ever spoken. So it's extremely humbling. But to give a plug, if you're interested, look at VidTow. I think it's vidtowlive.com. But it's called the VidTow Summit, and the chairman of Ogilvy is going to be there. VidTao. I think it's live.vidtow.com. But we're gonna have the chairman of Ogilvy Advertising, which is one of my heroes of advertising, was David Ogilvy. There's a lot of other great speakers. The subject is mainly talking about creating video sales letters, the strategies around that, but they're bringing me in to kind of give my spin on it. But it should be a great event. It's August 17th and 18th.
How many people do they expect?
A few hundred. It's not a stadium. Like I said, it's a very prestigious kind of a smaller event, but it's worth me traveling to the other side of the world, and I'll have a few meetups with my family while I'm there. So that'll be good.
Yeah. Tell me, I've obviously heard of Ogilvy and David Ogilvy. What are your favorite, give me your top 3 insights that you've learned from David Ogilvy.
So the first one I would say is his whole.
Do me a favor. Repeat that question for me. The top thing I've learned from.
The top things that I learned, and I'll just plug his book. He's long since passed, but David Ogilvy's Ogilvy on Advertising. In fact, it's on my shelf over there. It's one of the very first advertising books that I read way back when I was working as a marketing director. But some of the things that he talks about are copy. Look at your copy, refine your copy. And he actually was a very big advocate for more copy. The more you can hook people into reading your copy and then keep their attention to read more of the copy, the more you tell, the more that you'll sell. And I've kind of taken that 20 years later, and I'm applying it to what we do. So again, we hook you, but a lot of people will say, goodness, my Facebook rep tells me my videos should be 15 seconds or shorter. And I say, that's true if you don't have a creative bone in your body, which most people, they're not producing the kinds of videos that will earn that attention. So I look at it differently. I say, I have less than 15 seconds. I have 3 seconds to get your attention visually, because most people will be scrolling through videos with the sound off. So I have to be visual. That's why it's so important that you have somebody who knows how to not just film something, but dress the set, make things look visually appealing. I mean, look at me right now. I'm not just sitting against a white wall. I'm putting things to visually hook you to say, wait, what is that, a real background? Yes, it is. This is my studio. But I've got to stop your attention as you're scrolling through ads, or I've got to stop you from clicking that 5-second skip button on YouTube. And so I've got to visually hook you, but that's not enough. Now I've got to tell you some some kind of a story that will get you to lean in and say, what's going on here? I want to pique your curiosity. And then once I've got that, I've earned another 15 seconds. And then I got to do it all over again. And every 15 seconds, I've got to remember, is there a hook there? Is there another joke there? Is there something that's happening that's constantly keeping your attention so that I can keep you through all 3 minutes of my commercial, which is more copy that David Ogilvy talks about?
I love that thought that you just said, and I can't believe it's never really resonated or sunk in like you just said it. I've got to every 15 seconds get a new visual or audio, a new hook to keep you engaged. So you're strategically writing, thinking, all right, 15 seconds, like what are we doing here? Next 15 seconds, what are we doing here?
And that's a very
correctly?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not saying we're perfect at it. And I'm not saying that every video that you see, we will keep to that rule, but we do as close as we can to that model. And it really comes from my days of the infomercial, where my enemy was this. For people that are listening and not viewing, I'm holding up a remote control. What we used to do, my very first infomercial, 30-minute infomercial for the Little Giant Ladders, we spent, or the client spent, I should say, tens of thousands of dollars. Once that show was produced, we didn't just throw it on TV. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars to hire a focus group company that had a one-way mirror room, and they would fill that room with the people that we told them were our demographic that we were after. And they had a little dial, and we would show the infomercial, and they would constantly have to move from, I like what I'm seeing, I'm kind of indifferent, I don't like what I'm seeing. And we would get the data, and we would be able to see afterwards, where are we losing people? Where are people getting bored? Where are people not liking? And we would go back into the video and edit those parts out, or speed it up, or try to figure out, why are people not liking this part? And so as I'm writing my scripts, or as I'm reviewing the scripts, as we're shooting, as we're editing, I'm constantly thinking of the mental remote control in people's minds where they say, I'm getting bored, I don't like this, I don't understand this. And so if anything, I'll take the criticism of our videos that they're almost overwhelming. There's almost too much going on. It's almost too fast, because I never want people to get bored. I never have silences or pauses. I even overlap people talking at times, because when one section is finished, I want to go right into the next. And you can see that same data in your YouTube's or Facebook analytics. It will show you that graph, and you'll see places where people are dropping off. Where are people bouncing? And so, it's not just art, it's also science to figure this stuff out.
I love it. I'm writing down awesome questions for you, but the questions are just like flooding through me right now, or coming in. 3-minute video, you've got your every 14 seconds a new hook or new something to keep people engaged. The hook part of your video, you've got a formula, obviously, so let's really get them engaged for the first 30 seconds. Now let's tell the story of the product. Now let's ask them for their money, or now let's put the guarantee in, or you've got this formula for all that. Yeah, speak to that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly. So I'll talk real quick about the first thing, which is the hook. We've been doing this for 20 years, and I always say we know something, but we still don't know what the customer's going to do in any given situation. So the first thing that we do, wherever a client can afford to spend just a little bit more, we always encourage doing an ABC split test on the hook and an ABC split test on the offer. Now let's talk about those two real quick. So I have one client that came to me a couple years ago, super small company, literally a one-man band that had invented a pain tuner that helps to vibrate and kind of get rid of headaches. Nobody had ever heard of it before. Cost $500. His question to me was, can we sell this to cold traffic with one video? My answer was yes, but it's going to take 4 months, and it's going to take about $30,000 to produce the video. He had the confidence, went for it, and we created a video that now, to his warm list, which was actually pretty cool. So a list of email addresses and old people that he had their contact on. We did, and I would never guarantee this, and I would never promise this, we did a 19.6 return on ad spend. In other words, for every dollar that we spent promoting that video to that list, we got $19.6 in return. I mean, it was astronomical. Within a year, he'd doubled his sales. In fact, there's a video of him on our homepage talking about how he completely eliminated his debt within 1 year because of this campaign. Sustainably, we did I think it was a 5X to cold traffic. Again, selling a $500 item to somebody that has never heard of them in a product category that they have no reference from. The only way we were able to do that is just by getting super crazy creative. And actually, it's one of my favorite videos. It's one where we start out and we see this zombie. It's this lady that's groaning in pain. We brought in a special effects makeup artist to make her look like a zombie. And then we pose a simple question. Ever wonder what's going on inside your head during a migraine? And then the camera zooms in through her pupil. We go into her brain and we see this Star Trek control center. Anyway, these was just crazy ideas that came out of brainstorming what if. And so you have to eliminate judgment. You have to eliminate, anyone feeling like they'll get laughed at or, put down if they throw out a bad idea, because the point is you want bad ideas because that will lead to a good idea. We never would have come up with that off the top of the head, but the hook is what got people, that visual of a zombie, and then that question that was not just audible, but we put it big and bold on the screen so that anyone is going to get hooked into that. Then we tested with different offers. I think one was buy one, get 25% off. Another one was, just playing with different dollar amounts. And another one, I believe we did a white paper, or if we didn't, we should have, a white paper of, download this free guide of 10 things you can do to relieve your headaches instantly. Or, you're testing different things because you never know up front what the customer's going to do. So that's why we'll do 3 completely different opening hooks. We'll test them with a very small budget to see which one works the best before we spend any significant money. We'll do the same thing with the hook. One thing I always like to say is, buy one, get one free financially is exactly the same as get 50% off, is exactly the same as get $250 off if it's a $500 product. Yes. But which one of those 3 is going to resonate the most with your audience? You won't know until you test it. So I love that. Again, it's data, it's science mixed with the art and the visuals.
So did you ABC test? It sounds like hooks with this one with the head. I watched that video. It's awesome, by the way.
I'm trying to think if we actually did on that particular one. On most of them, we do. I think on that one, because the client was so strapped, he only had enough budget to do one, but it ended up being a winner. But you never know. We have another client that did an ABC test, and we have a case study video of this on our website. In fact, it was the urine product, and I should elaborate. It was a medical device for old people that can't get out of bed because they're either they've just had surgery, or maybe late at night they're afraid of tripping in the middle of the night and having a fall. So it's a bedside pan with kind of this spaceship type arm that you put where, like the astronauts do. It's exactly what astronauts do to go relieve themselves. Anyway, we did an ABC opening hook on that. Version 1 of that hook did a 1.9 return on ad spend. The exact same video. The only difference was the opening 5 to 10 seconds. Version 2 of that, with the same video, different hook, did a 2.7 return on ad spend, and version 3 did a 4.1. So more than double between hook 1 and hook 3. You would never know. Hook 1 is a 1.9. Maybe that's a break even, but that's really not going to make anyone rich. The difference between that and a 4.1 is the difference between a campaign that's not really sustainable and one that literally, and I'm not just saying this to make us sound good, they sold out of 100% of their inventory in 2 months, and we had to shut the campaign down because of the COVID supply chain issue. They couldn't get more product from China for 9 months. So the other thing I'll say is you can do all of this work, get a fantastic campaign, but if you're not ready for the success it's going to bring, it won't, you're not going to make the money that the campaign is ready to bring you. So be ready for the success. Get all your ducks in a row, get your inventory sorted out, make sure that the supply chain is good. There's a whole nother conversation about, well, what do I do with the click? Once somebody's seen my video and clicks, how do I make sure my sales funnel is optimized? How do I make sure I upsell that client? Because the goal of these campaigns is to give them the low-hanging fruit offer, the least barrier to entry, whether that's a free trial, whether that's a risk-free guarantee, whether that's even taking a loss on the very first sale to get the customer, because I know that I can sell them, upsell them, get them into subscriptions. Your listeners probably know a lot more about their individual products, which version of these works best for them, but just get creative. The goal shouldn't just be to make the money from the one sale. The goal should be to develop a sales funnel, a nurture system that over the lifetime value of a new customer that you're plotting out to figure out, maybe if I'm selling this widget, I can sell it for $10 and I'll break even, but I know that they'll want to buy more in the future. And so my profit will be, amortized over X amount of years or whatever it is.
I love it. You're doing on the front end, you're hopefully increasing cart value by having some upsell potential. So they buy the the urine kit or the
pain
headache
tuner
remover.
Yep.
So you get him, and then what were some of the upsells? If somebody clicked through and was like, "Yeah, I want the headache thing," what were some of the upsells you had?
That one's probably not the best example because it was a $500 device and that's the only product that they made. And so to me, that's an even bigger testament of the value of these videos is that we made all the profit on click number one. A better example is probably True Earth, the laundry detergent company that we have. The offer on the video is click now and get a 30-day risk-free trial. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yes,
it's a better product than what I currently have. It's also helping the planet because it doesn't use plastic disposable jugs that people think get recycled, but actually don't, studies show. And so if I can buy a better product that's just as good as what I'm currently doing and is also helping out, why not give it a try? The minute that you click into their funnel, yes, you can absolutely, and you have to be truthful in everything that you claim. And you also shouldn't claim anything that's not true. Nothing sells better than the truth. That's what the Harmon brothers always say. And it's absolutely true. But as long as you do good on that offer, once they get into the sales funnel, there's additional discounts and promotions to get into an auto ship program where if I buy a year's worth of laundry detergent that gets shipped to me, then, it's a better deal. And so you got to continually add value. And once I've done that, now let me look at their other products, their multi-surface cleaner, their toilet cleaners. And so, it's this whole ecosphere of different products that make that one click so much more valuable than just buy the product I'm talking about in the video.
I love it. And then you're building, hopefully if you're doing it properly, you're grabbing their SMS or their phone numbers and you're grabbing their email addresses, obviously, so you can nurture and make new offers and things like that. I love that. What was I going to say? I heard you say a budget for the headache guy. What's that product? I don't want to do it a disservice.
The Pain Tuner Pro.
Yeah, the Pain Tuner Pro. You said he had a budget of $30,000. Is that?
Yeah,
is that what you said?
That's our standard package.
30,000. And so, talk to me about that. Seems to be a pretty reasonable, number.
It depends who you compare us against.
Okay.
As in everything, there's someone in their basement or always willing to do it for cheaper.
Right.
But comparing quality, we have competitors that won't even talk to you for $500,000.
Yeah. Is that 30,000? How do I want to say this? And I don't mean, is that like, can someone get in the game $30,000? Is that just like, and it opens a whole can of worms, and now I'm looking at another 30 and another 30 and another 30?
No,
or is it?
So really quickly, I'll just walk you through. I mean, I don't want this to be an infomercial for us. I want to give value, but if someone's to call us, our standard package that includes all of our services for those 4 months. So that's writing, shooting, and editing. The only things that we don't own, like actors, paying for locations, buying props, those are the only things that are in addition to that, because it's not stuff that we have, and I can't give you a price until we've written the script. But we always tell people, rarely do we ever go over $5,000 in hard costs. And that's just something that they pay directly to the acting agencies and the locations. It's not something that we mark up. So it really is $30,000. And then, those hard costs. Now, if you want to upgrade to the next package, which I talked about earlier, which is where we do 3 different opening hooks, we do 3 different offers, then we take those videos, so now we have 9 different videos, because 3 and 3. Then we do the long version, which is 3 minutes, but some platforms won't let you run 3 minutes. And also some places you don't want a 3-minute video because you're just retargeting someone that's already watched the 3-minute video. So we also do a cut down version that's normally under 2 minutes. Some clients say it has to be under 60 seconds so I can run it on TikTok. Other clients say, no, I'm just going to run it on Instagram, so a 2-minute will do. Those never perform as well in a first impression as the long version. And it's really weird, because that's the thesis of what I'm saying is the more you can tell, the more you'll sell, but you have to earn the right to tell. So those shorter videos are really good for retargeting, where somebody's watched the longer video over on YouTube or Facebook or a platform that allows you to watch the whole thing, but then we retarget them with the shorter version, and that works very, very well. Then obviously what we're doing is while we're filming them, like I'm the director on all of our shoots, on my monitor, I have guides, so I know where to crop it so that it can run as a square version on Facebook, because most of the people are going to be watching on their mobile phones, and they won't flip it sideways as much as the director in me wants, my vision to be displayed the way that it was captured. I've got to make sure that all of the action, all the action has to stay within those guides. So we're giving them a widescreen version for YouTube and desktop. Then we're giving them a square version for their mobile, and in some cases where they ask, we need to do the 19:6 for the TikToks. And then we're also doing versions that are visual. So all of the subtitles on the versions that are going to mobile, we are graphically designing those on the screen. You never want the platforms to auto-populate that, because you want to control the conversation and you want it to look visually engaging, so that those 80% of people will read and still get the story just as much as if the sound was on. So anyway, it ends up being 36 different versions of the video for the upgraded package, which is an additional $10,000.
It sounds like with your knowledge of funnels or the sales process, it sounds like you're bringing a lot of knowledge and value and expertise and experience to the game too, which I think is huge, and I love it. And I hear that. I hope everybody else does.
Thank you.
Yeah. TikTok allows for 3-minute videos now. In some instances, people can do 10-minute videos. Are the ads different where you can only do a 1-minute ad, or are you able to start doing the 3-minute ads now? Or are there, it's my ignorance, I don't know.
No, and it may be mine. And in all transparency, we are the creative shop. So we just create the videos. We then partner with digital agencies. And while I know enough to know that I don't know enough.
Yeah.
I would never run your campaign. I would consult with either your in-house team of media buyers or your current agency, or where clients don't have an agency. I have 2 or 3 that I've worked with for many, many years that I would recommend. So those are the people that would really dictate what's the best platform. Number one, let's look at your demographic. Let's look at their buying habits, their viewing habits. Okay, this is an audience that we're solidly going to be on Facebook. Now, they're also on Instagram, they're also on Pinterest, or they're also on Snapchat. Those are secondary things, but we would primarily be focusing on a square video in that case. If they were to tell us TikTok is your audience, then we're going to be doing something very different. Having said all of that, TikTok is a different beast. It really is. We are still, the majority of our success still comes from Facebook and YouTube and then Instagram. TikTok, we're still figuring out, on total transparency, because people on TikTok are much more used to, oh, I see that's an ad, scroll straight away. But that makes our job even more important, that opening hook has to work. Don't get me wrong. We have had success on TikTok. It's just not our first platform, because people on TikTok are a lot more real, user-generated home videos. Those seem to do better. And we always tell our clients, you shouldn't just look at us as being your only form of advertising. You should still be doing these home video style, cell phone video, customer unboxing, testimonials, messages from the CEO, things that are authentic. What we do is not the authentic type of branding and marketing. It's the big production. And you got to have a mixed portfolio to really test and see success. So I love just a few thoughts there.
No, I love that. And it sounds like you're still working out the framework or the model for TikTok. And perhaps do you even want to produce that, I suppose, as an agency? But are you an agency? Would you consider yourself?
We're creative agent. Creative agent. Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Ogilvy number 2.
Ogilvy number 2. Let's see. Gosh, I gotta dust off some cobwebs.
We had copy is number 1.
Positioning, right? Positioning. He talks about positioning. How who's the first man on the moon?
Armstrong.
Who was the second?
Yeah. Who knows?
Who was the second? I can't remember. You got to be first. Now, if you're not first, you got to appear to be first. I'll give you the example. And I don't want to offend my friends at True Earth, but they have a ton of competitors now. The minute we launched our video, our very first video, just one video has 60 million views. I think it's maybe even 70 by now. Within 1 week, it was, it instantly went quote unquote viral. Now, again, we all know that it's paid ads that helps to get it to go viral. And the goal of any of these campaigns isn't to just make a video, put it on YouTube and pray that it goes viral, because it won't. It's more about making a video that when you spend $1 will give you those $3, $4, $5 in return every time. So you want to continually feed the machine because you're getting the return because the ads are working so well. But back to the point, positioning. You got to be first in the mind of the customer. Now I believe that True Earth were actually the first to invent the product that they have, which is a waterless laundry detergent. But now all of these other companies, these knockoffs, have come out trying to do the same thing. Now, if somebody else did it first, you can still position yourself to be first. Because if I don't know that your competitors exist and you're the first that I interact with, you're the first. You're Neil Armstrong. And so, again, these kinds of videos is a great way to get out there. And I think a lot of business owners get hung up on, well, but, a lot of people know about my competitors. No, they don't. They don't. You think that they do, but you're so wrapped up in your business that it seems like they do. To the average person on the street, give them your category. How many brands can they name? Now, obviously, in some cases they can, but get into the customer's mind first and stay there. So that's another thing from Ogilvy is just the value of positioning. And then probably final is price. Stop worrying about price. Worry about value. Worry about value. People don't sell. People don't buy based on price. Now they think that they do, but if you can position the value, I remember one brand in the UK. I think it was a beer brand, and their whole slogan was that they ran ads with people fainting when the bartender gave them the tab, and the whole slogan was reassuringly expensive. I mean, just think of the genius of that. How many CEOs would have run that campaign? And yet, that's the value that you can create from nothing if you really do believe in your product. Again, back to nothing sells better than the truth. You have to have a great product, but stop worrying about brand, about price, and worry more about value.
It's beautiful. Thank you for that. That's a great nugget. Dovetailing off of that, what are the top 3 tricks or the top 3 ways, or say it how you want, to increase that value?
So again, number one, you have to start with a great product. And if you don't have a great product, you have to go back to R&D. I can't tell you how many clients call me up and say, yeah, we want to make a video. And we start the process of asking the simple questions. What sets you apart from your competitors? What is it that makes you different? And they really don't have anything. And I say to them, you don't have a marketing problem. You have an R&D problem. You have to go create that better mousetrap, or at least use it in a better way. So number one is have an authentic product to sell. Number 2 is act like a $1 billion company. Like, look at your website right now. Look at the last email you sent out. Look at the last video that you produced. Would a $1 billion company have produced that ad? Now, I'm not talking about production value. I'm not talking about that, because McDonald's and the biggest brands on the planet, Apple, have recently started doing campaigns where they've given phones to their customers and have said, make us an ad that we can run on TikTok, because they're back to that thing of it needs to look authentic. So the field has been leveled. You have all of the equipment that you need. Is the messaging, is the content that you're putting out there the content that you would put out there if you're a $1 billion company? Just reframe your thinking to increase that value. And then finally, look at how do these huge companies, how do they continue to engage with their consumers? Whether that's bringing out different line extensions. If you have one flagship product, if you have one SKU that 80% of your customers are buying, what other things are that same customer buying? How can you increase the value there? But also, think about how often am I interacting with that customer? Is there a cold list somewhere, like I mentioned earlier with my Pain Tuna Pro example, an email list that has kind of been stagnant? Is there a list somewhere, or is there a way that I can mine information to get a list that I can then bring back to life, whether with a campaign like the kind that I'm talking about or some other campaign? But how often, and I'm not talking about spamming them, there's a huge difference. You got to add value.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you for those 3 nuggets. How much time, and give me 90 seconds on how much time and money have you invested into learning your craft?
Oh, good grief. I mean, in the early days, I'm not even kidding. I drove my fiance, now wife, absolutely nuts, because I constantly had my head in a book, or I constantly was on a training course. I mean, I started before the days of YouTube, long before the days of YouTube. I mean, nobody has an excuse these days not to learn something. I can remember spending, dates where I would want to go into Borders and Barnes and Noble and go into their, marketing and advertising section or filmmaking section, or I was constantly reading. But I was also constantly consuming. And I think that's in the creative world. This may not apply to all of your listeners, but in a creative world, we said earlier, where do ideas come from? And I certainly believe in inspiration, but I also believe in the words of Pablo Picasso: good artists copy, great artists steal. And so look at what everyone else is doing. Look, one of my favorite days of the year is not Super Bowl Sunday. It's Super Bowl Monday, if that's a phrase. I could care less about the football. I want to see the commercials. I want to see where's the benchmark this year. I mean, every agency that's their holy grail of the year, is releasing these commercials. Or, look at companies like the Harmon Brothers, who were our mentors. What are they creating? What have they created? Look at people that are doing creative stuff. It doesn't even have to be anything relevant to what you're doing. Ideas can come. And so the answer is a lot. You got to constantly be learning.
I love it. It's so good. How patient are your customers with you, and how many tries do they give you?
That's a really good question. I don't think I've ever had a customer who's been impatient. Trying to think if we ever did. I mean, we set expectations. We were talking earlier about eliminating deadlines. We don't eliminate deadlines. We give ourselves healthy, realistic, freedom, empowering deadlines. So from day one, our customers get a list of, here's the calendar. Here's what the next 4 months looks like. After 2 weeks, you're going to get our first set of brainstorm results. After 6 weeks, you're going to get our first draft of the script. After, and we're constantly keeping to those deadlines. You can't say, okay, we don't believe in deadlines anymore and still expect to, have happy customers. How many tries have they given us? I think one of the miracles of what we do is we tell our clients, we'll give you unlimited edits on anything. Like, you don't like our ideas, we don't like our ideas. Now, we'll give you a good argument as to why we like our ideas, but a lot of people will say, you get this many revisions. And the amazing thing is, when we do literally put our blood, sweat, and tears into every one of these campaigns, more than not, the problem isn't we want different ideas, it's we can't decide between the ideas you've given us. And that sometimes is the harder thing, because like our first step in the whole process is we go away, we do a whole bunch of research, we come back. I just sent one to a client yesterday. And it's a PowerPoint with 5 slides, and each slide is a pitch for a concept for a video. So that's not a script. It's just, who's the hero character in this video and what's their big entertaining world that they live in which the problem is manifest. Okay. So for example, I probably can't publicly give away details of their campaign, but we'll come back to them, and some are really out there. Like really crazy. I mean, think about the board meeting where the Harmon Brothers proposed a pooping unicorn that craps ice cream, hosted by a mythical prince. What CEO, what self-respecting board executive is going to say yes to that? And actually they said no. And a year later, when sales had gone down and down and down, they finally saw the light and said, oh, bring those crazy boys back. Let's give them a try. $300 million in sales later is the best, most successful campaign of its kind. But you have to have the guts to go with your gut. And a lot of the times when we present ideas, it's less about clients giving us different tries and more about clients saying to us, you tell us what we should do, because we like them all.
Yeah, I love it.
Which is a perfect place to be.
Yeah. And I guess my question is, you're going to produce a video for somebody or go through this whole process, and some are going to flame out just by the nature of what we do, right? So do they give you multiple tries, or are there frustration levels, or how many people throw in the towel and finally say enough? Or talk to me, give me some color around that.
Yeah, I mean, we always say we won't guarantee you a thing except our very best, right? We can't guarantee anything. We can show you what other clients have done. We can show you, different results. But, some clients are very, very small, and you got to accept that running a campaign like this requires two things. It requires the time and resources to produce the video, but then it also requires that you put a decent amount of money behind running ads to get it out there. And because of the nature of the beast, some go very, very quickly, quote unquote, viral because they work so well that the clients continue to spend more and more and more money. But then you also have, if it really resonates, people will start to share it, and it will get an organic virality to it that isn't tied to paid dollars. We always tell people that's the cherry on the top. Don't bank on that, but it often happens, and it's very, very nice. Definitely some of our campaigns have performed better and quicker than others. I don't think I've ever had a client that has said that they didn't make their money back and that it wasn't worth it. I've never had a client that has come back since the 5 years when we started Funny Sales Videos that came back and said, I want my money back, or I didn't find value in it. It just hasn't happened.
Cool. Thank you for that. I love that. I've got a couple more questions. I want to be cognizant of time, your time. Clearly, you've got to be busy with all this funny video creation that you're doing. But everybody,
this is a good creative break, though.
Yes, right. funnysalesvideos.com. Go check it out. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Joseph Wilkens is who I'm talking to. Clearly gifted at what you do, you and your team. You've put a lifetime into this, 20 years to get to where you are, the skill set that you have, the time and money that you have invested, the passion. Like, people, go check it out, funnysalesvideo.com. And there's the free PDF. Put your email in there and get how to produce a funny sales video without hiring us, which is packed with content. So there's a ton of value. Everybody should, just to get ideas, to learn, to tap into that creative flow, go check that out. So somebody, you are talking to a prospect, right? And you're like, yeah, our entry level is $30,000, but overall budget, you're looking for people that have $500,000 to spend on a campaign between.
No.
Or like, yeah, go.
No, I mean, back to the example of the Pain Tuner Pro. This guy was spending $100 a day on ads. So what's that? I think he only ran Monday through Friday. So $500 a week. So $3,000 a month. That's scratching the bottom of the potential. And he got amazing results. I typically tell people, in fact, right on our website, there's a place that anyone can request a free 30-minute brainstorming session with me, one-on-one, to do nothing more than just brainstorm ideas for free, no obligation. But I tell those people when they fill out the form, if you're not spending or prepared to spend 10 grand a month on ads, you probably won't see the results that make spending that $30,000 worth it, within a few months. Would we do it? Sure. We don't have any requirements.
Yeah.
But we just tell people, to get the results, you should be spending, you could probably get by with 5, but really 10 grand a month is what we would recommend if you're going to invest the money to do a campaign like this. But we have clients. I mean, we literally have had clients spend $100,000 a day on our ads.
Love it. So good. So you're basically, you create the creative, I guess is what we would say.
Yep.
Then small budget, small ad budget, or small ad spend on
Testing.
AB, on testing.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly.
And then as soon as you see that return on ad spend, or the R, what is that?
ROAS.
ROAS. As soon
Yep.
as you get that, then you just start cranking it up, and then a pretty cool model. So I love that.
And I should just add one more thing. ROAS is great, and we have case study after case study that we could talk about. But there's another benefit that doesn't happen on the bottom line of the balance sheet, and that is branding. Now, these ads are solely focused on immediate sales. They're direct response. That's my background in infomercial. When you run an infomercial, if the phone doesn't ring or the website doesn't click, you've failed. And so that's my background. But there's something about these kinds of ads that creates this ripple effect. Let me give you an example. So the first day that True Earth released their very first video, we're now writing number 9. So clearly it's working. But the very first video that we launched, the second day, they were number 2 in personal care on Amazon. You can't buy that. That means so many people were watching the video and then clicking over to Amazon. So they wouldn't have attributed those sales to my video, but it lifted it so much that it became number 2 on Amazon. They also they had a sales team that had been cold calling into grocery stores. I don't know the names, but the buyers in the grocery stores wouldn't return their call, wouldn't take their call. After the campaign, the buyers started calling them, saying, customers are coming in asking for your product by name. We have to stock it. We ended up doing billboards with the face of the character of our videos because it was so recognizable. I mean, it takes on a life of its own if done right. We never promise that will happen, but it's happened.
You are awesome, Joseph. I love this, man. This has been so much fun. I personally am all into having fun doing videos, interviewing people. I recently got flown out to Ireland to this mastermind networking event in a castle for 5 days. But
cool.
Yeah, I was hired to capture all the testimonials. I'm all about testimonials and case studies and helping people get that story arc so we can have a good testimonial, a good case study. But it's a fledgling startup for me. So I'm inevitably going to have listeners and watchers who are following me on that journey and are perhaps fledgling video creators, editors, content creators, or are interested in making ads, right? I think there's clearly a ton of opportunity as video continues to explode. Short form, long form content. It seems like, at least for the foreseeable future, there's unlimited growth and opportunity. So what would you say?
The platforms are changing, but the strategy of telling a good story will never change. Ever since the days of the cavemen, whether it's the wall of a cave or the screen of your tablet, it's telling stories. I see the next thing being, okay, what's this metaverse thing? How do I take my storytelling into the metaverse? How is augmented reality and virtual reality something that I should be keeping an eye on? And technology changes, but storytelling and the desires of people to hear a good story, I don't think that'll ever change.
Love it. So good. So I have 2 more questions for you, and then we'll get back to our work day. What would be your top 3 tips for fledgling, let's say, ad creators or video content creators, people who are like, I want to get into this space of making little ads or working in video?
Yeah. So I got hung up early days on the technology. And I think the technology, I mean, I'm a hypocrite saying this because I will buy every new shiny object there is. I'm blessed to be in a position where I can do that now. I didn't used to be able to, and that's how I, bootstrap my way into this industry. But I would tell people that technology is probably the last thing that you should worry about. Now, obviously, in a video production environment, you have to look professional. But these days, I mean, the Red camera, latest camera that I just bought a couple months ago, put against my iPhone, yes, I can tell. Yes, I can tell you that you'll probably be able to tell, but I don't think you can tell to the extent that you think you can. I think the much more important thing is, are you a good storyteller? The story always comes first. I mean, that's Pixar's mantra, right? Story is everything. And so before you waste too much money and too much time doing what I did and really going down the rabbit hole of learning every kind of technology and fixating on the next shiny object, fixate yourself on, how do I improve my storytelling abilities? And I'm not just talking about narrative, which is what we do, which is basically taking nothing and creating a story. I'm also talking about, how do you get somebody to tell a story? So if I'm sitting down, just like you did in Ireland, if I'm sitting down with somebody interviewing them, I used to tell people my greatest strength was my interview skills. No, I don't do interviews anymore. It's not what I do, but I used to do them day in, day out, right? So I would sit down with the CEO and I would get somebody that looked like a deer in the headlights. And I would have to figure out, how do I connect with that person? How do I calm them down, get them to not worry about the fact that they're now in a safe place? I'm not going to let anything get edited that they don't feel comfortable with. And then I'm going to get them to open up and talk. And I think those two things, really focusing on how to write good stories, but also how to find good stories out of existing experience, that's huge. Second thing I would say, going back to technology, is I focus too much on the cameras and not enough on the sound. Sound is 50% of the picture. There's a reason both of us are sitting here in front of a very expensive microphone, because most people will forgive a bad picture. Now, I have a good camera, but I don't know how my internet, this may get fuzzy, but the sound will probably come through just fine. And people will forgive a bad picture much faster than they'll forgive bad sound. So I would say focus some time on sound. Third tip, I would say network. Realize filmmaking is a team sport, and find local people that you can bring into your crew. There's so many people these days that want to learn filmmaking, so many students. I mean, I'm right here between two major universities. I've done, for about 10 years, I did an internship program where every semester we would bring in a student from a local university, and, I would mentor them, and, they would tell me that they learned more in the 3 months working with me than the 4 years and $200,000 one guy spent in film school. And so, take on projects, right? When you're getting started, take on projects that may not pay much, if anything, and use those as opportunities to say, if I'm sitting down, as we did once, in front of Google, pitching them for a project, I'm going to make this good enough that I can use that as my portfolio to step up to the next project. So a few random thoughts.
Beautiful. Those are great insights. Thank you for that. I thought I had one last question, but now I have two. As far as the editing side of things, do you outsource that, or do you have somebody that you've trained, or how, tell me that leap from you being willing to hand over that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a touchy subject. We could talk forever. I'm a control freak. Let's just put it out there. Every single project that you see on our website, I have other people that do stuff, but I always have final cut. So I always am the one that has, my fingers on the keyboard, doing the final grade, doing the final edit, doing the, yes, I have. And today, most of our team are freelancers. half of which I've never physically met. So I have people all over the place, some people for After Effects work. I have a music engineer in Nashville, my color grader. Actually, he's here in Utah, but I've never met him. I've got, all of these people all over the place. But, I think my company would be a lot bigger. And this isn't therapy, but my company would be a lot bigger if I wasn't the control freak that I am. But I love the size that we are because I can control the quality. I used to do chop shop projects where, I would let that all go out, and we had a team of 12 or so people that would just pump stuff out. And I just wasn't proud of it. So, yeah, I don't know that answered your question. We use the Adobe suite for pretty much everything that we do. And yeah, I have other people, but I have to have the final word.
The final say. Do you you obviously like the Adobe suite versus Apple's
Yes.
Final Cut Pro and stuff like that? Yeah. What's your number one reason that you're like Adobe? Yeah.
Well, so I used to work for Apple, and I was 100% Final Cut all the way. In fact, I flew out to Cupertino. I met all of the key executives. I was demoing their software at BYU, Brigham Young University. I was the Apple campus rep. So I would go to Apple mothership, be trained on what to go sell on campus. And so every software vendor would send me free stuff. In fact, that's probably how I got into doing what I did, because, they would send me all the hardware and software. I mean, I had the dream job. And so I was a raving fan of everything Apple up until, and some people may turn off now, up until they released Final Cut X or 10, whatever you want to call it. I remember being in Las Vegas at NAB when they released that at the Super Meet, and I tried for about a week to use it, and I gave up, and I switched to Premiere, and that was probably 10 years ago, and I haven't been back to Apple since. They just, there's a whole bunch of things that now I just couldn't get it to do. I'm sure they've fixed all of it, but to me, they just kind of killed themselves in the professional market. It was more like iMovie than it was a professional nonlinear editor. And, it's hard to kill habits of 10 years when I still use the Final Cut shortcuts in my Premiere system. But that's all I have of Apple. Other than their hardware, I still, talking of shiny objects, I got this brand new Mac Studio that just came last week that fully pimped out, that probably doesn't do that much more than my iMac Pro that I gave it out for. But again, I just have to have the shiny object.
Oh my God, you can spend like $90,000 on that little unit too, if you want to. I mean,
yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my goodness, Joseph, this has been so much fun for me. Thank you.
Me too.
Yeah, man. Everybody go to funnysalesvideos.com. Check out Joseph Wilkens' work. Download his awesome PDF, how to produce a funny sales video without hiring us, and schedule the consult. Why not?
Yeah.
Click on the link, schedule the half hour, and if you got a little bit of a budget and you want to blow up your business and get some brand awareness and perhaps be number 1 or 2 in your category on Amazon, why not?
we can't promise, but here's hoping.
Yeah,
one other thing, I'll just add in one final plug. Obviously, your listeners probably like podcasts. I do have my own podcast. If you're looking at the video version, How to Make a Video Go Viral. That's we go into way more detail. We've got 30 plus episodes. Haven't done one for a while, but it's a really good foundational course. We go step by step through all of the 8 steps in the ebook. We interview people that have had these amazing videos go quote unquote viral, both clients that we've done videos for, but we've also just, pulled in people that have done it themselves or hired other agencies. We love to learn from doing.
So good. I can't wait to dive into your podcast. Quick on the Oxford event. Let's plug that again. The Live Vid Tao, LIVEVIDTAO.com, August 17th through the 18th. It's going to focus on creating video sales letters. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think there's going to be a lot more, but it's a video marketing conference.
yeah. So tell me, what could people expect from that? Give me 90 seconds on why this.
I mean, I'm really going to I'm going to do something that I'm not able to do on podcasts. I'm going to show examples of campaigns that we've done. But really, I'm there to step by step teach them a crash course. I think I only have an hour, but a crash course on how they can do the same kinds of videos, how they can find the team members, how they can. I mean, a lot of this content is inside my ebook. So, but I'm gonna give a lot of value there and just basically teach people 20 years condensed into 1 hour of why they should at least. I mean, my goal is that by the end of it, they should at least be thinking, okay, should we add humor into our videos? What are we missing by not having humor? Because marketing is a salad, and you should have all kinds of ingredients.
I love that. So there's going to be there's going to be how many speakers, presenters there?
Oh gosh, there's 2 days of back-to-back seminars, an hour each, but there's some breakouts. So I mean, there's probably a dozen, and these are really, really top of their game guys. I kind of feel like I have a bit of imposter syndrome even showing up, but honestly, the reason that I'm flying over there is to learn from these other guys, because you never can get to a point where you say, I know it all.
Oh my gosh, to have that FaceTime with other professionals in that environment, in just that super creative space, and everybody giving, and that's going to be awesome. You're going to learn a ton, obviously, and give a bunch. And I like the idea too of Russell Brunson talks about offering your frameworks in different ways or what have you. Right.
Yeah.
So you've got your free ebook, right?
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, I'm going to go, I'm imagining, get paid something to go teach for an hour to a bunch of marketing folks. Who would you expect to be there as an audience?
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurs, literally anyone who has an interest in marketing, whether video marketing is your niche, your specialty, those guys are just going to get absolutely overwhelmed with new ideas, new strategies. But I think anyone who is has any function in marketing would just have an absolute blast. Plus, the arena is just awesome. Being in Oxford, and it's an hour away from London.
Oh my gosh!
Just tell your boss you need it.
Amazing. Is there going to be a virtual option, or is it?
There's not, and that's an interesting conversation. So the company that's putting on made a strategic decision that no filming will be allowed, which is kind of a bummer for me because going all that way, I'd love to have a record of it, but their strategy is that if you're at an event and you know that you can see it another time, you won't pay attention in the way that you would if you know this is a one-time event and you won't get a second chance. So that's a decision that they made. I think it's an interesting one.
It's very interesting. Good for them for going for it and drawing the hard line and doing a little A/B testing. An expensive A/B test, but what the heck? More will be revealed. Just so you know, you've given me so many amazing sound bites and little nuggets. Realistically, I'm going to be chopping up and making all kinds of little, I like to call them mini clips, and pumping them out there just so you're aware and cool with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And then I would realistically too create a cool little outro on each one that was like, check you out, literally. So I wouldn't even be doing it for me to get credit, but just because it's fun to make these little things and pump them out there. So they would probably have the trailer on the end that was like, funnysalesvideos.com, or so I might pull your logo and plop it on the end and push it out there. Okay.
Cool. Absolutely.
Awesome. Love it. And then, so last question. Thank you for being so patient and giving me your time this morning and just dropping literally bomb after bomb. Having so much fun here. Is there anything that you would be remiss if you didn't say, like we hang up or we hit end? I just gave my age by saying hang up, but where you're like, man, I wished I'd have, or I should have, or.
No, I think we've covered I don't think there's anything that I would add.
Okay. That was come on, come up with something. No, you don't have to. Well, awesome, Joseph. I'm going to let you get back to your day. Everybody, give us a look, like, and a follow. Check out Joseph Wilkens at funnysalesvideo.com, and let's go sell some stuff.
Yeah, go watch some videos and buy some of my customers' crap.
I love it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.